Hello again to this video clip series, My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. We're talking about, as in all of these video clips in this series, about how the devil fools so many people to slowly lead them away from God and toward hell, and at the same time without letting them wake up to what's going on, just to gently lead them that way. In particular, in the last few video clips, we're talking about that you can find much of this written in my article, Forbidden to Speak About Sin. Because how many Catholics today are ready to lose their work and prestige and enter into poverty in order to not commit a grave mortal sin? How many? I think very few indeed. The devil moves very gently and imperceptibly, so that we might go toward the infernal precipice, full of gaiety, dancing, and all sorts of pleasures, as St. Faustina wrote in her diary, paragraph 153. Also, in the atmosphere of relativism prepared by Satan in the last decades and centuries, today this phrase that Pope Francis said on the airplane years ago, talking about homosexuals, he says, "Who am I to judge?" Look at this sly way of doing this. The strategy is well thought out. This "who am I to judge" is interpreted more than ever as if sin does not exist, or that there is mercy without any personal obligation, in order to have sincere repentance, as we say in the act of contrition, to promise with the help of thy grace to sin no more and to avoid the near occasion of sin. Because a half-truth, when it is told to leave one in question or negate the other half, is worse than an outright lie, because within it is a deception in what one is actually saying. Such obscurity is designed to keep just enough of one's enemies asleep. The sense in which Jesus told us not to judge others was in regard to the measure of culpability for the sin committed. It was never to negate the need and importance of discerning or judging what sin is, or whether another has committed or is living in sin. The negation of the certainty of very significant social damaging mortal sins by these deliberate half-truths, when the majority of Catholics have already negated them, causes great moral and spiritual damage. The type of judging that Jesus forbids is that which negates love for the sinner. The kind of judging we must do in discerning what sin is required by love for the sinner. As I had said before, the strategy today, as you see at the time of Amoris Laetitia and also in the Synod of Synodality, they don't want to make the distinction between what Jesus tells us with the church saying that we must love the sinner but hate the sin. They don't want to make that distinction. And just so that if we hate the sin, we will be condemned, very soon even persecuted strongly, if we hate the sin, especially if we hate the sin of the act of homosexuality. When pastors and priests do not judge sin as sin, it is because they do not love the sinner, because they don't want to help him overcome sin to get to heaven. That's not, that's not love, as they often falsely profess. It's a hypocrisy. This lack of true lovelessness, leads to moral chaos, which then often leads to an opposite reactive lovelessness and the self-destruction of families and eventually the society. In the four Gospels, one finds Jesus, who is love incarnate, referring to hell about 70 times. He said in John 7, he says, "Do not judge by appearance, but judge with right judgment." That means according to God, according to divine revelation explained by his church he founded. What is the effect when a very high-ranking religious leader writes, "The question for those who do not believe in God lies in their obedience to their own conscience." In other words, they never say inform your conscience, but just follow your conscience, and they never talk about you must inform it according to the truth of God. Never, never, never. Just follow your conscience the way you want it. There is sin even for those who do not have faith when one goes against the conscience. In other words, the truth being definitively one with love requires humility and openness in order to be sought, received, and expressed. In this statement, there is no explanation of the need to seek the truth outside of one's own head and to form one's conscience according to at least the natural law, which all men can come to understand, even those who have never heard about Jesus Christ. You can find this in the Catechism number 50, paragraph 50. The same deceptive half-truth that leaves one to negate the other half is a statement that implies that if we take care of our own sin, that is all that is needed if we are merciful to others. So we need more silence about the sins of the world and in the church. That's what they're saying. The deception of many church leaders is not only in being quite short on naming sin and implying it is whatever we think it is, but that in implying that if we take care of sin in our own lives, everyone else will do likewise without our judgmental intervention. It's live and it's live and let live, with a false message of mercy solving all things. This is the negation of sin, the same message the serpent gave to Eve in the Garden of Eden. The Freemason is very sneaky. As St. Paul said, Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Otherwise, no one would believe it. The Second Vatican Council expressed this concept in the proper context so as not to lead astray or deceive the readers. For example, in Dignitatis Humani, number 1. How easy it is to fall into the hidden and devastating dangers of indifferentism and subjectivism. In the Catechism it's written, by natural reason, man can know God with certainty on the basis of his works. But there is another order of knowledge which man cannot possibly arrive at by his own powers, the order of divine revelation. Paragraph 50 in the Catechism. Fundamentally, the strategy to disarm the Church of her most powerful weapons and defenses against the onslaughts of Satan using false ecumenism, false love, and false mercy. This is the same strategy used by the homosexual activists to destroy the fundamental cell of society, the family. In the name of love, compassion, of tolerance, of mercy, of equal rights, the puppets of Satan, these homosexual activists, manipulate, coerce, and impose their agenda on an unsuspecting public, even though their goal and agenda destroys not only the family, but also the society and destroys themselves in this fundamental human disorder. Where is the courage of our pastors who have been given by God the grace of their vocation to warn the sheep of the very destructive hidden and devious lies of the ravenous wolves in sheep's clothing? They're sneaky to destroy. And if one does not pray the rosary every day and stay close to the sacraments, it's impossible to understand what I'm saying right now. The affirmation that the church is necessary for salvation is not aimed at those who, through no fault of their own, do not know Christ and his church. Those who, through no fault of their own, do not know the gospel of Christ or his church, but who nevertheless seek God with a sincere heart, and moved by grace, try in their actions to do His will as they know it through the dictates of their conscience. Those too may achieve eternal salvation. You can find this in the Catechism, paragraph 846 to 847. May God bless you and Mary guide you.